Hi guys, welcome back to Daniel Hegarty's Movie Reviews, and sorry I've been away for a little while. I've been quite busy and couldn't keep the frequency of the video uploads going, but we're back and I hope to try and do one a week. Hopefully trying to do one a week where I review some of the best films that I've watched, some of the worst films I've watched, and actually first time ever reviewing a bit of a book that I've read. Not all of it, because I'm not very fast when it comes to reading, but I've been recommended several times to read this little gem here, so I thought I'd finally go and give it a go, and I am so surprised and pleasantly surprised about what I've read. So stay tuned, we'll have a chat. So several times now, some friends have said to me, have you read The Book of Blood? Clive Barker, you're into Hellraiser and Midnight Meat Train and all those things. You should read those because it's kind of like a crossover. There's so many little stories that there's a crossover for. It's a bit of a Tales from the Dark Side, the Creepshow style thing. It's an anthology or a series of small stories with a wraparound story, which is at the beginning and at the end of the overall stories. And I don't want to spoil too much, but basically the story is a well-known, an up-and-coming sort of clairvoyant who can talk to the dead, who actually turns out to be a phony, is putting on a show at a particular house. He's gone there because the producers said to him and the people that manage it said to him, listen, you've got to go to this house, it's haunted, if you're going to speak to the dead there's definitely going to be some there, and they're trying to film it all. And as it turns out, he is actually in an extremely haunted house. The book describes it as a junction for the dead where a lot of the dead cross through. So there's a high amount of traffic of souls, wandering souls that are crossing through this house. And he's there trying to make people believe that he can talk to them, and he's coming up with all sorts of rubbish, and the dead feel like they are being mocked. They feel like they stand around, start watching him, and it feels like he's taking the piss and mocking them. So as punishment, they do take him and basically scribe in their stories on his skin. So the Book of Blood isn't actually a book, it's a person. So I'm sorry that I give that away, but really that happens in about 30 pages of the book, and it's quite a well-known story anyway. But what I thought was actually a fantastic idea was the fact that the Book of Blood was actually a person, and they're for punishment, they're scratching on and cutting into his skin tiny sort of words, but when you read them all, they're all stories or fables or things that have happened to them or whatever. And that's supposedly, when you read the smaller stories, that is supposedly the stories that are written on the Book of Blood. So what a great idea, what a great concept. So I thought that must have been made into a film, and I did a bit of digging, and I don't know how I didn't know this, but the Book of Blood was actually made into a film in 2009, and it was directed by John Harrison, which is a well-known horror sort of director. He's done plenty of things, from Tales from the Dark Side, and he's done a few other things as well, but he's also picked and he's done some of the new Tales from the Crypt directing for the new episodes that they're remaking. So, this guy's, fairly well-known. Now, the film itself is pretty good. Now, they've taken the quite short concept and there's not massive, I haven't read it all, so I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem to be that there's a huge amount of detail in the small sort of wraparound story. In the main stories, you've got things like Midnight Meat Train, Rawhead Rex, some of the things that we kind of have seen and never really knew that they were stories, short stories. Some of them are only 30 pages long, but they were then made into a film. And that's what they've done with the wraparound story for the Book of Blood. They've taken it and they've added a few elements into it to draw out the storyline. It's an hour and a half's worth of film. I wouldn't say some of the stuff they put in it is irrelevant. It is very relevant. But it's been done slightly different to how the story explains it. It goes more into the relationship between the clairvoyant and the producer and things like that. So in the book, within the first couple of pages, you really find out that they know he's a phony, and the producer knows that he's a phony. And it's more dragged out in the film. Like, they believe that he can really talk to the dead. He tricks them, and it goes on and on and on and on. And then there's the big reveal where she finds out he is actually a phony. So they have obviously added a lot of filler. But what I really loved about this film, and I haven't got to the end of the book, so I don't know if this is actually part of the book or if they added that on themselves, is that he is telling someone how this all happened and what all these scars and cuts on him are. And there's a big sort of twist in the film, and I would definitely say watch it. It's not a fantastic film in the way it's made. It's not bad. There's nothing technically wrong with it, but it's quite a slow burner. There's a lot goes on. There's quite a bit of nudity, so I mean the ladies would probably like it because it's mainly him being nude, which is in the book, so I think that it's definitely worth watching, because although it's quite drab, there's not a lot of storyline. It's just the same one dragged out, and you follow it. Because I understood what happened, and I understood what he gets cut. He gets all of the stories cut into him. You're kind of waiting for that. But actually, the last 20 minutes of the film really turn it around. There's some really good things happen in the film. So definitely go and watch that. At the minute, it's sitting at 5.3. It's 2009, so it's probably that's where it's going to stay. And that's fair. I normally would give a lot of things a go if they're over 5, and I probably wouldn't even look to this unless I knew it was a Clive Barker and the actual story. I knew the premise of the story, so it made it interesting. I wanted to see how someone had put it on screen. For the more Hellraiser fans of you do see Doug Bradley in his all his splendour. He doesn't appear as Pinhead, unfortunately. I don't think Pinhead and the Cenobites are from the Book of Blood. I might be wrong there. By all means, tell me in the comments. As I said, I haven't got that far through it, but it's really because it's a Clive Barker film. They needed one of the ghosts that lived in the house or that was crossing through the house to sort of make an appearance, and it's Doug Bradley. So that's kind of like a little crossover. It's quite nice to see, Doug without all of the get-up on, doing something different, and then you go, yeah, he's mates with Barker, so that's why he's in this film. I love little things like that. And that's really it. That's all I can say without giving too much of the ending away. And as I said, I don't know if the ending's different in the book as it is to how they finish it off in the film. So they are. Hopefully you'll get 2 different endings, and then you get to sort of get the fun of both. But I certainly love the ending of the film. It made all of the sort of slow dialogue and things like that quite worthwhile. So yeah, give that a watch. Let me know what you think, and I will be back with another review very soon. Take care.